that I wanted to share with you is around culture. And I think, we did get a heads up with the book that we discussed on Netflix. What a fascinating case study on the kind of business. It's just been a disruptor. And I think the work-life balance kind of video saw to it. And with Tushar coming in on, some of his achievements, which have been fantastic, and the way he wants to grow it, I think culture will become center point. So really happy with the way this has kind of really dovetailed itself into this topic, culture, your competitive advantage. From a background standpoint, I don't intend to go through my introduction, but just to highlight that this presentation, I'm going to be talking about it from three perspectives. One is the CHRO role, where I've set up massive HR processes for large organizations and driven a lot of HR transformation. Second, as a venture fund, which I managed, which incubated close to about 46 companies. And, my experience through that is naturally all 46 didn't do well, but we had a good ratio of about 10 of them doing very well and 4 of them exceeding 100 crores in their first 10 years of business. And third, of course, is a serial entrepreneur. And Culturalytics is my fourth company and closest to heart because it kind of combines a very soft topic like culture, because everybody knows the importance of it, everybody understands it, but to kind of bring it to a tangible score and also go ahead and measure the dollar impact, that's fascinating. We've had a very good amount of success in a very short time with this company. So these are the three perspectives that I'm going to be talking about. Now, let's set the context, and I'm sure some of you, would have read our business review, and this talks about companies, and that's what we're seeing today. We started this session with Netflix. I can think about very many others. Amazon, for example, has grown in value because of the pandemic. So you're basically seeing hyper growth companies in this stage, which is marked by a lot of digital transformation, hyper-connected growth. So what sets hyper-growth companies apart from other firms are, some of the tenacity around their businesses. And we see these type of businesses growing from a 0 to 10 to 100 very, very rapidly. So why hyper-growth companies face obstacles? A lot of the research and also my personal experience is that the primary challenge is around talent and the vision alignment that the founder has towards their employees. And one of the biggest challenges, or I would say the key responsibility of the entrepreneur or the executive, would be to maintain culture. How do you scale culture? So in a startup, say you have 5 employees, everybody it's kind of like a family come office, the lines are pretty blur, but then, aspirations kick in and we really want to grow pretty rapidly. So how do we manage that 10 to 50 and then 50 to above, given the aspirations and given the intentions of the promises that we've made to our investors too? That I think is an interesting area. It's difficult, a lot of people talk about it, it's difficult, and there are multiple challenges. One, I think the pandemic itself has brought in this whole work from home. Two, some of the times the founder entrepreneurs are not able to let go and hire an executive who can drive change. Three is the whole communication, articulation skills itself of the top management to be in touch with their employees. The pandemic has kind of thrown it, and this is one of my favorite pictures. This is a picture of UNESCO, and you just see all the countries participating, right? So the world, as we see, has changed, and I think it's going to remain so for some period of time. And like I was mentioning earlier, we used to go to office. Now office has come home. And I think office will be at our homes for a long period of time. The entrepreneurs and the financial analysts are already calculating some of the cost savings that happens on real estate. So there's a lot of revision in the business models as we speak, revisions in the working capital budgeting as we speak. So I think what will stay may not be what we had in 2019 at all. It is going to be a hybrid model where a lot of companies and even startups, MSMEs, or even large companies will adopt a hybrid model where the core section of employees will report to office, but largely everybody else is going to continue to work from home. We're also seeing an acceleration in the gig economy, which is, hire experts for a particular time, for a particular purpose. You go your way, I go my way. So the flexibility or even the intention of entrepreneurs to invest in careers, to hire full-time employees, we're seeing that very rapidly eroding. So that's an interesting phenomenon, right? So coming to the context of where we are, right? The importance of workplace culture in the pandemic world, right? Now we all understand, I'm sure, that culture is more than HR. Right? Unfortunately, culture has been relegated to the sphere of HR, but culture is an executive role and nobody can go away from it, right? So if you talk about the pandemic, the context is such, I've highlighted here 3 points. One is leaders have to imagine. So I would encourage all of you to go ahead and reimagine the workplace, because we now have to provide a safe environment, and homes may not be safe. Some of us are really blessed to have the space that we have, the families that we have, but we're seeing a rise in domestic violence, in abuses that are getting reported. So, and as an employer, I think our roles are no longer limited to the office, which was there pre-corona time. We have extended to the homes, and the law is pretty blurred about that. So I don't know what Malika has to say, but we are going into people's homes. We've also seen a rise in mental health. A lot of suicidal tendencies getting reported, because even if I'm frustrated, I could walk up to a coffee, I could just go take a break, or I could even change jobs and leave the company if it was getting toxic. And now in the pandemic, everything is happening at home. And if I'm shut down, if my locality has a lot of cases, I can't even leave home. So it's creating a lot of stress. So as HR leaders, how do you still maintain productivity? How do you still maintain efficiency in these kind of environments? And it kind of boils down to the culture, to the connections that you're able to build through your workforce, right? And as executives, the second point is resetting the normal. I hate the word new normal. I think it's kind of got abused, but we have to reset. We have to reset the normal, because we are not going to go back to the pre-corona times. Things have changed. So if you're expecting this to be just a blip and 2021 go back to the ways, sorry to burst the bubble, that's not going to happen. So while we have the time, we have to reset what works for our companies. We may have 5 employees, 10 employees, or even thousands of them. It really doesn't matter, but we need to be clear about the kind of environment that we're going to build, because it is going to get hyper digital. It is going to get hyper connected. And the way we work is going to move towards more of an online business. So how do you build that connection? How do we build that trust? How do you continue to engage with your clients? How do you onboard new clients? How do you hire talent in a virtual world? Because if you're hiring key talent, you would call him to your office, look at his body language. So these things are very important. Right? Don't let the pandemic change your company culture. These are a couple of, from a startup standpoint, what does culture mean? And these are 2 highlights, which is, it's an environment that has to value problem solving, open communication, and flat hierarchy. And you should also adapt quickly to internal and external market pressures. A lot of it initially was internal. We would create the problems, which largely the macro environment remained the same, and the pandemic has kind of been a disruptor in that space. Corporate culture can actually make your business stronger, and we have a lot of research that supports this point. People say culture is so soft, but like we've cracked it. We're able to bring a dollar impact of culture in the business. We've seen companies investing in culture grow multiple fold, because people may join you for money, but they're going to stay back with you for culture, right? And culture permeates all. So if you look at this, your corporate culture, how do you define it? A lot of executives talk about integrity and ethics, and they don't bat an eyelid to bribe. So what is the message that you're driving through your employees? We've even have companies on the other side who are very proactive in introducing a whistleblower policy during the pandemic time, because now work has segregated. So, the whole question of ethics itself is getting spoken about in a different angle of introducing technology for implementing a lot of these employee policies. So the corporate culture will have a direct impact on the way you hire, on what makes people stay back, and good talent is going to get even more difficult. And let's understand that, because in the gig economy, where people are called in for an expertise, do their job and move on to the next project, the good talent is anyway difficult to find. But with the gig economy kicking in, it's going to be even harder for you to find those sparks, invite them into your company, and invest in them to make your vision grow. On the right hand side, I have the employees, and a good work ethic and performance is a subset of culture, and that invariably breeds to successful outcomes. So it becomes primary importance that you spend a lot of time with your employees. And when I talk about culture, some of the most disappointing conversations are around, we take them out for lunch, we do birthday parties. Please remember, your HR department is not an event management department. Unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. We've seen a lot of companies practice that, but that's not culture. Culture is about, is your employee able to understand your vision? Is he or she as hungry as you are? Do they have clarity in their mind as to what growth means for them? I may be procuring some material, but I'm saving, say, 10% on this order value. What does that mean? What is it doing for the company? So, getting the communication across so that your employees understand the very purpose of your organization, that becomes important. And we've seen a lot of executives lazy about this. So it kind of goes down to your lowest common denominator, celebrating birthdays. And you know what? Maybe the employee even doesn't want to turn up on his birthday. And you have these fun Fridays. And we've seen a lot of those initiatives just go out and actually increase frustration in employees, where they say the company is forcing me to have fun post lunch on a Friday. I don't want to do that. And in the pandemic, where we're going to have maybe 1/3 of the workforce only reporting back to office, how do we manage growth? That becomes the important question. So 7 steps for us to kind of take away from the culture standpoint is: 1, define what you want your company culture to be, and values. Don't be lazy about it. I mentioned ethics and integrity, even customer centricity. You need not have 5 values, 10 values. Nobody is pressurizing you to do that. Have 1 or 2, but follow it through. It's like time management and we reporting late to office. That doesn't work. So first of all, align your values to your business, right? Cost consciousness can be a value, especially if supply chain management is a big process of your business. Second, look at what your culture is like now. And for small businesses, you are the biggest influence on your business. So you have to take that responsibility and accountability, because somewhere your weaknesses are shown on your company culture. Your strengths are also shown on your company culture, right? So take a look at what your culture is and keep yourself away. This is, and a lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake to say, this is my company. Nobody is disputing that. But change your mindset a bit to say, this is the company I work for. So what should this company look like? Because the moment you say, this is my company, everything becomes you. And if everything is about you, you're unlikely to scale and realize those aspirations that you want. So treat yourself as employee number one of a company that you would love to work for. And then what does that company really mean, and start defining it that way. Identify or hire someone. If it is you and you can play multitasking roles, it's good. But if not, go ahead and hire, because as entrepreneurs, we need to be where the business is. We need to be in front of our customers. We need to be managing those relationships. If it is you, good for you. If it's not, be cognizant, accept your weaknesses and hire somebody. Second, invest time in building your talent brand, training, skill development. I can't stress this enough. And especially with the pandemic, the need for digital skills has increased a lot. The gap in the age, we spoke about work-life balance in the morning, and we're also seeing those undercurrents of employees who are 50 years and above struggling with new tools, with new technologies in large organizations, and a kind of an unrest of the youngsters saying that, oh my God, he or she is struggling with technology. Well, that's visible. But then when it comes to decisions, when it comes to experience, you know, it's the age that may weigh in and given that decision. So when you're trying to formulate a culture, you will end up hiring a younger workforce, no doubt about it, because we are becoming digital. But at the same time, you know, make your older workforce comfortable, because they have resilience, they have seen life, and when your business is in a crisis, they are most likely to be watching your back and standing next to you. Because we've seen in the millennials a lot of attrition happening, and they may not stick with you, but they may be intelligent and they may just have the skills to drive the technology that you want. So, you know, in your mind, go ahead and classify your workforce, optimize your hiring processes, hire for values. I have sat down with a lot of CEOs, and they always have a skill-based hiring. And my only advice is, have you done a value assessment? Do you hire according to your values? At least your first 50. If your values are not aligned, you're going to be having such a struggle in scaling up your company. And there are tools available in the market that will help you hire on a value base. What is the value? And it again ties back to the culture that you've defined for your companies. Find ways to constantly reinforce your core values. Point number 6, that goes back to the kind of rewards and recognition that you have. Like, one of my examples that I give is have a founders award, you know, or have an employee of the month, which recognizes behavior rather than performance. A lot of organizations reward performance, and we have seen those companies not really scale up simply because performance is a given. I have hired what I call as a talented employee, and now if that talented employee is not able to perform, then I have a problem in the recruitment process. And typically what leaders do is they try to address it in the rewards and recognition process to say, this fellow is talented, maybe a reward will motivate him or her, but that's very short term. Come next quarter, they're again going to go down. So if you're going to have rewards and recognitions around performance, you are not building a company for the long haul. You are not laying the foundation for hyper growth. So do go ahead and define values and define a certain budget which recognizes the behavior that you want to be run in the organization. Measure culture effectively. And this is where, you know, we've been having fantastic success stories with our clients, because we've been able to get a very tangible score, what we call as a culture coherence quotient, to see not whether you're having a good culture or a bad culture, but Is your culture really aligned to your business? So for example, Tushar spoke about his plan, and I'm just taking him as an example. He may say in the next 10 years, I want to do X, Y, Z, but is his culture today aligned towards that aspiration? Or is it just a paper exercise of a lot of financial analysts coming and saying, this is the macro environment, this is the business opportunity, you need to have 2%, 5% of the market share, so this is the growth. You know what? All that is good, but it's just a paper exercise. It is the people in your organization who's going to realize those dreams and those aspirations. So are you really aligned today is a question that you need to ask. What do you need to watch out for? You need to watch out for toxicity, right? Work culture is something that can either make or break our overall satisfaction in life. We spend more time at work than our homes. Work-life balance kind of shows that, where everybody says, draw a boundary, it's all about the mind, you know, have compartments in your brain. It's culture at the end of the day. If you're going to like your job and love your job, you know, you're going to go for it. Otherwise, you're not going to go for it. And entrepreneurship is a bit hard because we cannot go for those vacations because our P&L account kind of keeps running even in our absence, right? So there is always that thing in our mind to keep checking that. Startup culture is especially susceptible to toxicity. You know, it's very easy for us to be cynical. It's very easy for us to be not listening because we love our voice so much. You know, we kind of are always so future oriented. It is a high pressure environment. Who said running a small business is easy? You don't have that leverage on finance. You don't have that, you know, I have working capital for the next 3 years, so I can chill a bit and actually take those strategic plans. We don't have that as small businesses. So we are bound to be working in an environment that is constantly high pressure. Right? So it's very easy for us to give up. It's very easy for us to shout at somebody, to misunderstand somebody. So the toxicity can set in very quickly. So extremely important that we're positive, we are at it, whether you like it or not, you know, you've decided to be an entrepreneur. It's like, if you can't take the heat in the kitchen, don't try to cook. So if it's a conscious decision that you have taken to say, I will lead a purposeful life, I will be an entrepreneur, I'm going to create X number of jobs, I'm going to create wealth. The treadmill is pretty tough. You cannot go ahead and say, I want to earn $1 million, but you know, weekend is, I'm going to switch off. It's different. If you want to lose weight, you need to exercise. You can't think about losing weight. So you need to follow through your aspirations with hardcore actions, and execution is where it all comes down to. And the way you execute again depends on the culture and the behavior that you set up. Otherwise, you're going to be having clients who are dissatisfied. You are managing crisis after crisis, and you're managing those escalation calls, right? In your environment, products and services are always being rushed to the market. Cash is tight, and you're always chasing after that next big investment or the next big client. So watch out for that. What we have done in our company is to bring out real-time analysis. And Sankalp, how are we doing on time?
I think you have a few more minutes to wrap up.
Yeah, sure. So this was my last slide. What I wanted to show you is a glimpse, because one, I think I'm very proud as an Indian. I remember taking these calls in California where I said we're introducing AI in our culture. We're supposed to be the world's first. And they said, so you're calling me from US? And I was like, no, India. So it's interesting to see that, you know, some of the mindset is still that India is largely BPO. And I'm like, why can't we have a path-breaking practice coming out of India? So I just wanted to show you, you know, some of the dimensions that we work in real time. So what's happened on the HR processes, just for the interest, and I'm sure most of you would know about it, but just for the information, a lot of the HR processes, they're getting segregated into two categories, high tech or high touch. Okay, and this is going to be driving business. High tech All your processes that are repeatable and scalable, they're all getting digitized. High touch would remain counseling, mental health, coaching, and that is a skill that is extremely specialized. So for, I had, I think Aman talk about, we're middle-aged, what do we do about it? If you're an HR professional and middle-aged, then it's time to reinvest in your skills, because the type of the work that HR professionals were used to, those jobs are not going to be there anymore. A lot of the processes are getting digitized and real time. So gone are the days where you will have annual appraisals, quarterly appraisals, and appraisals related to salary hikes. They're all going away because we are becoming a digital economy. So time for real-time processes, real-time employee sentiment, real-time appraisal. So when a CEO comes in, like you have a production dashboard, more and more companies are asking us to develop an employee dashboard, a productivity dashboard that goes up and down on a daily basis. So the CEO just has to log in and he gets a dashboard of his HR. And that is the speed and agility that executives are asking for. So I'm just going to bring up, are you able to see this screen?
It's very small.
Yes,
the
yes,
write-up,
we can.
write-up is a little small, so one has to sort of.
Yeah, sure. So I'll come to the write-up, but what we've introduced, and this is something that every executive sees, right? You decide your demographics, you're here, you can do it by tenure.
Yeshasvini, I think we can only see a PPT right now in case
Yeah, we
you're
can't see the
sharing
other
platform.
screens.
Yeah.
Okay, just give me a minute. Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So this is an example of how real-time analysis is being done in companies, right? So you have your demographics that as an executive, you decide whether it's according to tenure, whether it's according to age, the location. So you kind of come into your business, the business unit, which is the department you really want to do. And then of course, the gender. What's interesting, and this is to the women out there, we've found that resilience is a little high in the female gender through our research. So that's good for us, I guess. So makes a point for diversity and inclusion too. So here, you go ahead and do according to tenure. You're able to see how your employees are feeling. The spider webs change according to what you select. We've also brought in natural language processing. Right, natural language processing is a methodology where you get a lot of open text, a lot of your employees are writing a lot, you do an algorithm on that, and you're able to get a sentiment, whether what your employees are expressing, is it a positive sentiment, is it, something negative, because negativity multiplies faster, and we know that. And during a pandemic, it's going to become more difficult for you as executives to follow through if you let negativity spread. So these are some of the dashboards that we bring in, which has your natural language processing according to the questions. We have the spider web according to your feelings, which you can segregate. And here again, Gurugram was not doing well compared to Mumbai, for example, right, in this particular use case. And we've also started to help executives with a heat map. And heat map this is the areas that are red, where an executive has to take immediate action. And the green's not so. So tomorrow, if you want to hold a town hall, you just have to focus on the red areas, right? If a CEO wants to talk to a set of employees, he has to focus on the young workforce, because if you look on the left-hand side, it has all the demographics out there. And the right-hand side will give you exactly the issue that the organization is dealing with. And an executive today, when he or she logs in, gets this kind of a heat map on the employee productivity. And this is path-breaking, this is pioneering, and we are having a lot of executives move in this direction simply because the business mandates these kind of practices, given the acceleration of the digitization of work with the pandemic and the way the future of work is going to be conducted. So with this, I bring my presentation to a close. I hope I've been able to, help you with some perspectives to become future ready. Invest in culture, invest in yourself. You are responsible for the jobs that you're creating, for the lives that you're promising careers to. It's not easy. Nobody said it was. And I wish all of you the very, very best.